Okay, we are challenging our camera lady, Judy Castine, today because out in the bright sunlight, sometimes the viewer isn't very friendly as far as what you're looking at. Calvin Castine here. It's the morning of October 3rd, 2017, and we're at a place we've been hoping to come to for a little while now. It's known as SterRX, STERRX, the symbol for recipe, which is very, which is used for prescriptions.
Yep, sterile pharmaceutical is what we do.
Sterile pharmaceuticals. Who am I talking with?
You're talking with Sean Boehner-Gue, and I am the manager of logistics services and solutions here at SterRX.
Yeah.
And we're a startup, as you know, been here now for about 3 years, and we're finally shipping product and delivering into the pharmaceutical medical industry.
Okay, and we're on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base, and it looks like a relatively new building. Was this building put up for Sterics, or was there an occupant?
It was previously a Wyeth Pfizer building, and we were very fortunate to acquire it given the people that were made available to the market, so to speak. And we've been very fortunate to pick up so much of the pharma expertise in the region.
Yes, for the handful of people here who have no idea what Sean might be referring to is back in the 1930s, Aris, McKenna, and Harrison located in Rouse's Point, and they grew and grew. Aris became owned by American Home Products and became part of Wyeth Aris, and at this present time is now part of Pfizer. But a decade or so ago, it was announced that that plant in Rouse's Point would be closing, and they did have a presence here on the airbase in Plattsburgh, and this is that building here. And as we're talking here in this October, I believe they're in the final couple of months of the people that remain there in Rouse's Point. That's what I am led to believe. So,
yeah.
So many people, like the lady who's holding the camera, my wife Judy, worked there, and my son Justin, who you said sit right next to you.
Yep, cube mates we are.
I don't know who to feel sorrier for, you or him.
Oh, no, we're so glad to have Justin on board. He is a jack of all trades and mastered more than a few. So he's a real asset to the firm.
Yes, he was very fortunate. He was working in Oswego. He found a job in Oswego and was very fortunate to be able to come back here and start his career here. But every couple of months we'd ask him, are you making product yet? Are you making product yet? Well, and finally the answer came through.
Well, with the startups, I mean, we wear a lot of hats. I was originally the purchasing manager. I was also the warehouse manager. I was the safety manager. I back all those departments up now. They have new department heads for each of them. And we're growing like a weed and loving it. It's wonderful. The opportunities for the marketplace. We're currently supplying into what they call the shortage market, so that when a substance in the medical field is in short supply, you're allowed to produce it to help close that gap, especially when it's a life-saving substance. And that's been a current focus for us, and along with our ophthalmics for the ophthalmological industry. And we're looking at some newer products coming online. I'm sure Terry will chat with you some more about that later.
Okay, that's Terry Wiley, who is his title?
Terry Wiley is our Chief Operating Officer, so he is the supervisor on site with a plant manager reporting to him, and then he works directly with the primary owner, Gary Hanley, Dr. Hanley, out of Malone, and Sarah McCoy is his plant manager, and they're the trio that pretty much run the operation, and then we all report up into them.
Okay. And you've been here how long, Sean?
I've been here 2 years, just last month. Came on board as a consultant, then they brought me in full-time shortly after that. That's been a path for a number of folks. And then we just did a big round of hiring through the public recently to fill out our operators, housekeepers, packagers, a good deal of the manual labor.
Okay. Now, I know you didn't work at the plant in Rouse's Point, but are the things that are being done here now, you say you're finally into production, similar to what would have been done at the Rouse's Point plant?
Well, Rouse's Point was a full-scale pharmaceutical, whereas what we're producing here is a thing called blow, fill, seal liquid pharmaceuticals. So we take virgin resin and put it into a machine, and it extrudes a form that is then molded to hold a product. That product is then inserted into that molded form and sealed back up. All of this done within a Class 100 sterile environment, so that when the machine ejects that ampule or vial or bottle, it's never seen the light of day. So it's sterile air, sterile water, sterile substances. And we do a thing called API to sterile. So approved pharmaceutical ingredients are purchased from authorized manufacturers under CGMP, FDA oversight, good manufacturing practices, CGMP. And those people then supply volume product to us that we then formulate into these solutions that are injected into these vials, bottles, ampules. And that goes out to the marketplace as a single unit dose is the primary target for that, or limited unit dose, so that you're able to take that sterile thing and not have it be re-exposed multiple times while you're touching it or handling it. So it's a little different than anything else. The technology's been in use in Europe for the last 30 years at least. It's fairly new in the States still, but it is very effective, very useful, and it allows us to bypass preservatives in a number of cases. Some people are sensitive to various preservatives in certain drugs, so that becomes a problem. We're able to produce a preservative-free version of that with an extended shelf life. Terry will probably give you some more technical information about that later. But on the whole, what we're doing is we're leading a curve here in the U.S., and it's being well received.
Okay, so we're going to see a little bit of that when we go inside,
Yep.
I assume.
Yes, we are. We can take you on a tour of the building. We can show you some of the products, what they look like, and give you a sense of how that is received in the field.
All right, so let's pick us up inside. Okay, we've moved inside and we've gone right to the top. So we've gone from Sean, although a couple of steps up here, won't say how many. Right to the top, Terry Wiley and Sarah McCoy. Okay. I should know that. I've seen your name out there before, and my wife says I can't use my hands. I know a little bit more about Terry Wiley than I do about Sarah McCoy. In fact, I was looking yesterday on the internet, and from 1975, Terry Wiley promoted to finishing department manager.
Yeah, that's really going back in
No
time,
matter
isn't it?
how much you slice it, that's still almost 43 years ago, Terry.
Who's counting?
Right, we're not counting. No.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, it's a black and white. It's okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I believe you're Ellenberg Depot boy originally?
I am. Grew up in Ellenberg Depot on a small farm.
Yeah. And,
Very fortunate to work at Aris Wyeth. Had a great career. Did some consulting in the North Country with small businesses, and landed at working with Gary Hanley, our CEO, and we started ASAPAC in Malone, still doing fine, and now we're here at Sterics with a great opportunity in front of us.
okay, what's that, ASAPAC, what is that?
ASAPAC was our startup. We did blow-fill seal technology in Malone also. We were a contract manufacturing organization, so we were doing work for other companies. Due to the regulations, we decided to dedicate the Malone facility to do medical devices, which means we have slightly different regulations, but we do wound wash, we do some neonatal products, a different market. So then we came to Plattsburgh with the intent of having Plattsburgh Sterics be a contract manufacturing site. And while we were doing a lot of qualification and validation work here, which takes 2 to 3 years to get a pharmaceutical company ready for sterile products, the regulations changed with the FDA due to, in the 503B compounding arena, due to deaths in Massachusetts, big event. So what's happened now is the compounding pharmacy outsourcing facilities have to follow CGMP, or good manufacturing practices. So we were already there, so it was a very unique opportunity for us to go into a different market. We already have CGMPs under our belt. We have a world-class workforce with 90% of our workers coming out of Wyeth Pfizer, and technology with automation that is very robust. So we have changed our course from doing contract manufacturing work to the Plattsburgh facility being exclusive for 503B outsourcing work. That is a major shift in strategy, a very unique business opportunity. It's a niche within a niche. So that is our current focus. We've already been out on the market, I think, as Sean indicated, with ophthalmics. We went out with, there's 2 concepts. One is a FDA drug shortage list. There's always about 200 products out there that are short supply. And then the other is what we call core 503B products, which means the product's not commercially available. So that is our niche and where we're going. It's very, very unique from that standpoint, and we are ramping up to be able to do blow-fill seal containers. We're looking at going into the controlled substance market and also do syringes, and all of that is very attractive because our products have to go directly to our customers, who happen to be hospitals, doctors, clinics. So we do not get to go through a middleman to do the regulations, which is fine with us. But what that does for us, which is unique, is it creates a very large logistic piece where we are doing direct shipments, which could go 24/7 as we ramp up and have more products in our portfolio. Sarah, what would you like to add?
He did that without catching his breath once, you know.
He's great at it. I started here in 2011, also with ASAP Pack, and came to Sterics.
You're a little speaker.
I'm not as loud as he is, but we do have a world-class workforce. We were very fortunate to grab a lot of employees from Wyeth Pfizer, myself included, and we've accomplished a lot, and we still have a lot of work to do.
Okay, so you're the plant manager?
I am.
Okay, and what did you do in Rouse's Point? Were you in Rouse's Point or Shazy?
I was in Shazy.
Okay.
I worked in reproductive toxicology, and then from there went on to nursing, and then started with Gary's company, and then ASAP Pack, and then from there came down to Sterics.
Okay, now when I think of Shazy, I think that a lot of Eris's success came out of the horses that came there, the pregnant mare urine that became known as Premarin, and we were very fortunate. Bob, Ben, and I, a couple decades ago, were doing a show on the Presbyterian Church, and they said, you got to talk to Franklin Forbes about the church. So he was an elder or whatever they're called. So we did a story with him, and he was saying, well, he says, you know, and he started talking about Wyeth, because off the camera, and about being there when Mr. Eris was there, and McKenna and Harris and all the people that, you know, so I said, well, before you go to Florida, he was about to head to Florida, I said, you could do a show with us on the history of Eris, and he did. And while that show was airing up here, he was in Florida and he died. So if we'd waited till the spring to do that program with him,
Wow.
but there's a man whose knowledge went back to the very beginning of that plant in Rouse's Point, so I was very fortunate. But getting back to that pregnant mare's urine, which some people might know as Premarin, that's a product of that company. Do you have any of your own products? Are any of your products your own? Are you making others?
We have no filings for our own products. What we do is we take products that are out there under monograph. We do not have to, because of 503B, that's what's unique about it. We do not have to have filings, which take years to develop and lots of money. We can go in and make a monograph product as long as it's not available and there's a patient need.
Okay, so within the last month or two, you started actually manufacturing here, and it's been a
Well, what's
long,
interesting, yeah, it was a
it's been
long road, but in the last 12 weeks, we went from 50 employees, and most of those people were qualifying and getting the facility ready, produced, and now we're up over 100 employees. And most of those additions came in manufacturing. We prepared to run 3 shifts, both in the production area and in the labs to support the ongoing work, and we're continuing to add staff because our next push is going to be developing more products as rapidly as we can, so there will be a lot of resources dedicated to research and development to allow us to do that. We were fortunate. We are partnering with a company called Sagent. Sagent is owned by a Japanese company. They became our sales and marketing arm. Sagent also owns a company in Montreal called Omega. Omega and our facility have great synergies in terms of they have lab facilities that we can utilize. Right now we outsource over 80% of our lab work. Some of that will go to Omega, and we're continuing to grow, and we will build a bigger chemistry lab in this facility in the next 12 months. We also have a large microbiology lab because we have to do ongoing environmental monitoring because we produce sterile products.
So you're planning on doing some building there, and then
It won't be. It'll be within this facility. We won't have to build new buildings, but we will restructure what we have here. We've also leased another building up the road that we're running out of people space and parking lot space. So we've leased another building to help move some people and relieve the pressure on this site.
Yesterday when I was Googling this location to make sure I would turn at the right place, and it's easy if you come off Connecticut to get here. I noticed in that direction there's a whole lot of trees. And
Yeah.
Is that available
Yeah,
property?
the good news is there is 11 acres, about 11 acres next door that is available if required, and certainly that's a plus for having the opportunity right next door that we could expand if needed. What's unique, and I talked about capacity early in the discussion, is that on 3 shifts, this facility has the capability in terms of sales dollars to produce over $1 billion of sales just with the existing capacity that we
Wow.
have. So that's very significant.
I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm significant when I hear the M word. The B word is even more impressive. So, do you have, you've been plant manager, but no plant here for a long time, so it's not like switching on a light switch though, so it's been a growing experience, I imagine, for you. Just all of a sudden, you've got people in that plant to manage.
As Terry's mentioned, it's been a long road. We've worked a lot on qualifications and validations and paperwork to get the facility ready. We've started with, I think, roughly 6 employees, moved to 50. We're at 108 right now, and we have about 17 more vacancies to fill. So the company is very unique. We all wear many hats, and even when there's not a plant to manage, we all just kind of move around and get the job done.
One of the things that's unique, and this is where Sean has added tremendous value, is in order to grow into this new space, we need to put systems in place. So logistics solutions is an area where Sean has expertise. We're also rolling out ERP, which is an enterprise resource planning system, where Sean also has significant experience. So having that talent available and putting the tools in place to manage this growth are critical for our success. So he is part of a team and has led that initiative to get us where we are now, and we're continuing to grow in that area. But the other thing that's been very helpful is use of outside consultants. Jane Manor used to work at Wyeth Pfizer. She is a resource that has been extremely helpful to get us into our CGMP arena. Also, to be honest, the local bank, Champlain National Bank, has been a godsend to help us grow as we needed to, and has continued to support us. And without the support, small businesses just don't survive. So they understood our needs. They've been there step by step. We really appreciate the effort that they've given us.
Well, let's be brutally honest here. You've gone a couple of years without selling any product.
Exactly right.
So,
yeah, there's no free lunch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's obviously a big expense. We have high-end. We have very skilled employees. It takes a lot of resources to be able to qualify and validate a sterile facility. So not an easy task, but we're here and we have tremendous opportunity in front of us.
and probably without the availability of former Wyeth employees, which you both happen to be, this plant probably couldn't exist because you've got the manpower, did I say manpower without
That's fine.
person power,
I'm
of
okay with it.
of experienced people that you can step right in, and you haven't got to spend all this time training and start from step one with them.
Well, that's really significant. I think 2 things, and you're hitting right on it. One, the talent was in the area. They wanted to stay in the area. To be able to relocate that amount of talent, I'm not sure we would have made it this far. It would have been very expensive to relocate and bring people in from outside the area. So it's a win-win for the community. Our goal is long-term is to have something that generations can enjoy here when it's all said and done.
So you're not going to be here for 5 years,
I
10
probably
years?
not
No,
going to make it that
no.
long, but it's been
No,
a
I
great
can see from
experience
this
so far.
newspaper. But
I'll be here.
And being in this building is also a testimony to the park people's original vision when the base closed,
Yeah.
and the Development Corp and the Chamber have been very helpful in getting us tapped into grants and resources, and then the employment agencies in the area have also been supportive in trying to help us filter in the right hires. So it's really been a community effort to help build this, and it's just starting to blossom.
yeah, we talk about the former air base and the acronym PARC, P-A-R-C, that had the pleasure of handling all this stuff, they hit the ground running, because I was covering them right from day one, and actually, before day one when they were still trying to save the air base. But they've done an excellent job of bringing in businesses and finding a use for this former Air Force base. And I don't think they could have imagined the success that they've had. Now, how about you personally? Are you where you'd want to be when you look back 2 years ago? Is this where you want to be, or are you?
No, I think the opportunity really is, we're much further than we wanted to be because of the change in regulations, the opportunity with 503B far exceeds the opportunities with CMO work or contract manufacturing work. But the reality is none of this happens without a person with vision, and Gary Hanley is a true entrepreneur, brilliant man. He sets the stage that allows us to go forward and create more opportunities, and he's done it in Malone with ASAPAC. He's brought his knowledge here, and we continue just to grow based on his vision, and without him, none of this exists.
Now, you refer to him as doctor. Is he a medical doctor? What kind of a doctor
Gary
is he?
is an optometrist. He's practiced in Malone for over 30 years. He has a very vibrant business in Malone, but his creativity far exceeds his role in that responsibility. So he actually has a couple patents out there, but one of the patents was an eye drop that would work horizontally, so an elderly patient wouldn't have to be tipped back to apply it. But unfortunately, nobody was interested in that technology, so he said, well, what are they using? And that's how we got introduced to blow-fill seal technology, and that's how we ended up in this market space. Pretty interesting character.
And who knows, sooner or later, that eye drop might become available.
Absolutely,
you never
that's
know.
right, yep.
Could be manufactured right here. So, do you dare look very far ahead? Do you have a vision of what we're going to look at if we come here in 2 years?
And let's look at a 2 to 3 window. That's a good question. I think that this site can easily support between 120 to 150 employees easily. The growth potential, our goal, and it's a challenging goal, is to put at least 20 products out on the market and over the next year, recognizing that they're not new products, but there's still a significant amount of work that has to go into that, and then continuing to develop that product portfolio. So I think we'll definitely get to the numbers of 120 to 150 without any doubt. The gross sales volumes could go from, we could be a $50 million company, or we could be a $200 million company. It could go in either one of those scenarios. The opportunity really is quite amazing at this point.
It's nice when you look at a $50 million company and think that that's the low end of the of your projection.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep.
So even beyond that, obviously, a place you guys used to work at grew greatly in a short period of time. It was at a level area for a while, then all of a sudden employment there really took off. So there's really no way of knowing how big this could turn out to be then.
Well, our goal right now, and I talked about it being a niche, there's probably around 60 503B outsourcing facilities in the United States. The FDA is challenging each one of them, and some of them are going out of business because they can't afford to go to the CGMP practices, and it doesn't make sense for them to do that from a business standpoint. We would love to be and expect to be in the top 5 when it's all said and done, and that's probably a 2 to 3 year window, and we're positioned to do that. So
Great.
It's a great opportunity.
And it's wonderful being on the ground floor of something that,
Yeah, it's an exciting time.
It
It
is.
is an exciting time.
okay. Is there anything else that?
No,
before
thank
Sean
you so
gives
much
us
for
the
coming in.
tour?
I
Oh,
appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time, and it's a great
appreciate-
story.
It is. This is, it's, I've always felt that, Hometown Cable is here to provide what's best about our North Country, and this is certainly
Yeah,
one of those stories.
yeah,
Yeah.
great, okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Judy is looking toward the parking area, and as Terry mentioned, Sean, you're running out of places to park out there. You've got to be kind of
Oh.
creative to park your
Yeah,
vehicle.
the place is packed. The place is packed, and because we've acquired some from auctions from other pharmaceutical operations closing down, we've acquired a bunch of equipment we're still waiting to deploy. So you'll see some stuff sitting on pallets as we walk around. It's like, what is that? That's not yet used. It's an asset, gonna get used. So yeah, we've cobbled this place together using the current good manufacturing practices, and then we refurbish the machinery and re-outfit it and make sure that it's up to snuff for FDA qualification and inspection and production of pharmaceuticals. We're standing on the loading dock where we bring products in from the vendors.
Okay. And
And-
anything shipped out from here, or just
It's in and out
In and
at the
out,
moment
okay.
at this operation. The other loading dock is currently used for refurbishing and construction purposes so that we can keep the area clean and those can be sealed off. We bring products in from approved pharmaceutical ingredients, as I mentioned. A vendor goes through a lot of qualification to be allowed to sell into us. We have to verify that the product will be everything it's supposed to, that it's sterile, that it's manufactured correctly, it's clean enough, it's pure enough, all of those characteristics. Once that happens, then we can use it for production. We have to verify all that. We test it internally. We also test it externally using third-party labs. So we get our own and independent corroboration that the product is exactly what it's supposed to be. That allows us then to make the sterile pharmaceutical that we will produce.
okay.
So as we come in the door, we have our receiving operation, our technical services. There's Calvin's Cube. And we have engineering
Justin's.
and technical people back here, the warehouse team. So we manage this space.
All right. So
and-
your desk is back here then?
Mine is there. There's Justin's.
Justin.
We're the two craziest cubes in the building.
That's my
Yeah.
son Justin, who's
It's 'cause
on
of all the
vacation
hats
today.
we wear, basically. We have our own shop in-house down the way there
All right.
that allows us to
We'll get out of the way so Judy can
that
see.
allows us to fabricate parts or adjust parts as required.
That's
and
what down there? What is that?
the shop. So we can fabricate and adjust various things. We build a lot in-house right
Okay,
now. When you
so-
see one of the machines, we acquired our blow-fill seal machines from Europe, and we're refurbishing rather than buy new. Brand new units will run you anywhere from 15 to 30 million. We acquired these for dimes on the dollar and will allow us to then bring them all up to speed. We have 3 currently totally up and running now. We're working on the remaining 2. So we'll have 5 rooms operating, each with their own packaging operation, each allowing separate batch lot controls and full audit traceability for everything that's done. And again, we're training staff up from everything from housekeeping, how to keep a house sterile and clean, whether it happens to be a bug or whatever that you're trying to make sure does not enter the building. On that note, I need to close that door just a moment.
Okay. All right. And just for people who are joining us late, we are at Sterics in Plattsburgh on Idaho Drive, I think it's called, not Road, Idaho Drive, I believe. And it's a up and coming business, and we're glad to be here on this day in 2017. We're going to challenge Judy to walk as we talk. Is that we're gonna do that,
walk
Sean?
and shoot at the same time.
Yeah, we're gonna.
So as products are brought in, they're quarantined. So we isolate them until quality assurance can verify all that information I already mentioned.
Okay.
And test results are brought back in, and once the material is appropriately approved for production or for sale, either or, goes both directions, then it's released from quarantine and moved into its various areas in the warehouse.
Now I got to point out that some people may remember having seen you on Hometown Cable before, and the place you were employed at before had a lot of shelves and warehouses too.
Country Malt up at the border. Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian Bouchard and I, my thanks to him for that opportunity. But yeah, this is a much smaller warehouse, and I thought Department of Agriculture FDA guidelines were difficult. FDA and drug guidelines are much more difficult.
And they should be.
Yes, they should. It is human lives on the line, and we take that very seriously.
Beer
here.
drinkers, wow, what the heck.
Yeah.
But you want your medicine to.
Yeah, we moved up in the level of drug. So for example, here, these are materials now that are available for use. So this is the resin that we would form the containers out of, and it's what they call a pharmaceutical grade resin. And it's a low density polyethylene. That's what we use at the current. We also use some other types of polyethylene plastics. Some may be opaque. Some have more degree of light resistance or whatever according to the type of drug that will be stored within it.
Now, Are you working 2 shifts right now, or still
Right
one?
now it's 2 full shifts. We have stretched to a third on occasion at the moment, but 2 full shifts are on the schedule Monday through Friday. But as Terry mentioned, we are prepared to go 7 by 24 once we get into the full production of all those shortage market drugs. Shortage market drugs are literally life-threatening in their absence in the marketplace, and our ability to provide them is so critical. And it's why we've shifted our focus to this 503B compounding into that shortage market and a couple other areas like it. It allows us to bypass those other procedures and still meet all the regulations and get life-saving drugs to the marketplace and provide wonderful employment for, as we've heard, 108 people to date, and we don't see that stopping probably until we hit the 200 mark.
So, for people out there who might be looking for an opportunity to look for a decent job, they should. How would they contact Sterics? Or is there an employment agency?
You would start with any of the employment agencies right now, or currently have our stats and numbers.
Can they contact Sterics directly?
They can contact Sterics directly. They can drop a resume off at the front door. They can find our address and information online. They can send it in to attention to the HR manager. It never hurts when you're looking for work to try multiple avenues and to get your foot in that door. We often use the temp agencies for temp to perm. That works out best for a lot of people. And that also allows us to handle peak demand without creating a situation where we would have to lay off somebody we just hired. We're trying very hard to create full-time, permanent labor, good jobs for the region, good work that people can go home feeling good about.
Okay. We'll follow Sean along here, and hopefully nothing in the...
Examples, these are chemical stores for the production aisle. These would be examples of products that are released now. They're able to use these in production and manage their inventory and make sure that they can get it what they need, when they need it.
Okay.
And it allows them to function through the 2 shifts. And as you can see, behind us now is our vault. Once that whole area, we can walk toward this if you
Okay.
like. Once this is completed, and we receive our DEA certification, we can then work with controlled substances and manufacture critical pain relieving fluids for the surgical theaters and things of that nature, anesthetics, various substances, again, that are dissolved in sterile water, ringers, things of that nature.
Yes, it's unfortunate that we've come to a situation where so many people are going crazy trying to get these painkillers that
It is unfortunate. It's very
sad.
unfortunate.
It's very sad.
We won't be providing that type of product,
So you gotta put 'em
pill or whatever. It's going to be a liquid injectable or liquid intravenous.
but you still have to put them
Oh yes,
in a
and
safe.
that is a bank level vault. The door alone, I think, is 16 tons.
Reminds me of a song.
I know, I was just thinking that, and in fact it may be closer to 12 tons.
Oh, okay.
And the 16 came out of the line in the song. Another day older and deeper in debt, right? Yeah.
That's me.
But then we will have a cage area for handling goods outside of the vault, but still under secure control. The vault itself. And then back here we can show you something. It's kind of the heart of the system. It's our sterile water.
Sterile water, okay. Don't walk too fast here,
Sorry.
because Judy has to...
WFI is the term I had to learn.
Okay.
Probably I should explain that with the 90% of the people Terry brought in from Wyeth Pfizer, I was the GP. I had no pharma experience whatsoever. I was a general practitioner in multiple industries, multiple skill sets, but have had to learn everything on the job about pharma. So WFI back here is...
That's not Wi-Fi.
No, water for injection.
Okay.
We basically create 99.999 something percent pure water here. They test it regularly. They purify it in a number of ways, both through 2-micron filtering, UV, ozone, and chemistry.
All right, I'll
So-
get out of the way so Judy can see the... Okay. Okay, that's the water going out. Where do you get the water coming in?
The water coming in is town water brought in, but then it starts right off the bat through the 2-micron filtering, then the chemical balancing, then we start neutralizing that, then we purify that. And Calvin could probably tell you the precise.
Justin.
This is his baby.
Justin.
Sorry, Calvin, Justin. Justin takes care of the water skid. That's his baby. And it's one of the primary first things that has to be done before any production will occur is confirmation that the water is now pure for the day. And then once we have our WFI guaranteed, then we go forth to the next step.
Now, obviously, you're hoping to increase production even more. You're going to be expanding this area too?
If necessary. It's not yet at peak capacity. We have not yet tested that. We still have some room to maneuver on that. But our hope is to, of course, have to outgrow everything.
So all of this building was here, and were you only utilizing a small portion of it initially up until now?
We literally didn't see corners of the building for a week. Now everything is sterilized daily, twice a day. We may see a cleaning crew while we're walking today.
Okay.
So they open the shifts, they close the shift in mid-shift. So.
All right.
Okay. These are what are known as stability chambers.
Oh,
Bally boxes is another term for them. In these will be stored various materials while we test them for their longevity, their shelf life, their stability.
Are you referring to what's ahead of us?
These and these.
Okay. To the side
Each of them can be temperature controlled so that you can raise the temperature, lower the temperature, increase the humidity, decrease the humidity, and that allows us to put environmental stress on the subjects and check how they're doing. And then we periodically pull them out, test them, verify that they have maintained their quality, potency, stability to this point.
How long did it take you to get this fluent in farming speak?
I'm not sure I'm this fluent yet, but I'm working on it. But it's been 2 years. Like I said, I literally nothing. Terms that I've heard here, I have to go, what? What?
Say that in English, please.
Yeah, exactly, please. No, you know from our prior conversations, I'm a fairly well-educated guy. Around here, I consider myself stupid. No, I work with some of the smartest people in this area, and they have multiple degrees, and I can turn around and throw a stick at a chemist, a biologist, you name it. From the pharmacy side, we have two pharmacists full-time on staff now, a third one coming on. And we have a number of chemists and biologists and mixes of all those skills. So it's really a wonderful place to work. I'm surprised with all the IQ, sometimes the building doesn't levitate.
I'm helping to hold it down today.
Okay. What we're going to come around the corner on is what we call the staging area. This is an area not yet fully expanded into, but will be. So we have, as I mentioned, a bunch of equipment that we've acquired that we intend to deploy in the future. So there's various fillers and compounders and devices behind that black wrap that will eventually either cannibalize or bring online directly. So what I can show you next is if you want to save gowning up till last, we can go around the back at the last, and we can look in on the compounding room. So what we'll do is we'll go this way toward packaging.
All right. We'll stop the camera for a moment, Jude.
Okay. This is an example of a blow fill seal machine, and at the moment the molds are not in it. They're being worked on for the next run. So the molds would go in here. These are the needle holders that would come down and inject the drug during the process, that it would open and close.
These booties are a little slippery.
Yes, they are. So the cylinder of plastic drops down, the mold comes in and forms it, then it pulls back, the needles come down, fill with the substance, the mold head comes back in and seals the container, then the whole thing kicks out, the flash, the excess plastic is knocked off, and then it feeds out of the machine through this window and comes out the door to the packaging group that would be all set up outside to receive it as it comes out.
These doors
are closed during operation. This is a sterile area. The operators are in here gowned head to toe, covered everything. We're only allowed in at the moment because we're currently under some renovations, so that's the reason we can be here.
We still have to gown up a little bit.
Yes, that minimizes exposure from the outside to the inside. We still try to operate as clean as we can, even when we are saying what we're called dirty, because we're working and we're not in sterile mode.
Right.
So you're either dirty or sterile. Those are your two choices, pretty much. And so this is one of the machines, and like I said, a brand new one of these would probably run you between 15 to 25 million. And we've refurbished them using local skills, talent, etc. It was a bit of a challenge. I believe the original handbooks were in Slovenian. and we had to get translations. The good news is that measurements and dimensions and things like that are the same pretty much the world over.
Since we went metric.
Yep. So this is an example of a blow fill seal machine. And when it's all up and running, it'll all be closed in, sealed up, everything will be, and the materials are piped in from the compounding room, which we will see shortly.
So
I'll show you that. So any questions you might ask about this?
No, unless my camera lady is a
Here's
Wyeth
an
veteran.
example of something we've made.
Okay.
This is an example of a small twist-off ampule container that you would basically, when I said the head comes in and closes this in, that's this part. So when this seals up, to get into this now, you have to snap that tab off and then go through the plastic using a non-coring needle and technique. So this would be, when you open this up, that's the first time this has been exposed since it was made. And then it's a single unit dose, and there's no way that anyone else can get contaminated by anything this has been exposed to.
Right.
It's used on the patient and recycled.
Okay.
And we do that up to a full liter and down as small as 5 milliliters. So it's just molds.
So it's not
and
the
size.
only size that you have then,
No,
obviously.
we have currently, we're working on 100 milliliter bottles, 250 milliliter bottles, full liter. And we say bottle, it's almost like an IV bag. I can probably show you an example of one of those as we go forward.
All right, doors must remain closed except for entry and exit. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
how are you gonna get in if you don't open?
That's a resin feeder, so the
Right here
resin
to
is
our-
sucked out of that
to our
into
right.
the machines so that they're able to pull the resin in the vacuum up into the machine where it comes down in and is then heated to a point that helps give it some sterility. And it was originally pharma grade, and then it goes through the whole process and comes out sterile.
Okay, and what exactly would you define as resin? What is it?
Oh, it's a plastic bead. So you can basically see it's just a fine plastic bead that then melts.
And that's what you make your bottles? And
That's what we make the bottles out of.
Right.
Some of them may be colored, some of them might be slightly harder or softer depending on what you're doing with it.
Right.
All right, so we can,
All right, yes? Okay. Okay, we've just opened some more doors. And where are we now here, Sean?
so this
Here,
is
let me
an
get next to you.
inspection room.
Inspection room,
Right,
okay.
so what you're seeing up there, for example, are light boxes that allow us to hold up the material and examine it against bright light to make sure there's no particulate or anything foreign floating in it. And it allows them to do it in 2 different light dark observations. And then we have various, this is a packaging system for a contract client. It's a thermoformer, and that's used to overseal the materials in secondary and tertiary packaging that is also then sterilized.
In addition to your little bottle being sealed, you seal it again.
This is something more along the lines of what ASEP Pack was doing. This machine will be leaving the facility shortly.
Okay.
However, it is an example of the sort of thing ASEP Pack does, is that you basically form a secondary holder, put something in it and seal it. And then that whole thing is sterilized with ethylene trioxide to guarantee that packaging is sterile.
Okay. I see some stuff being done in that window over there. Is that something we can look at, or?
Yeah, we can go up and look at that. I believe they're working on that machine. They are in clean room mode, so we cannot go through
Yeah,
that
we won't
door.
go in there, but we can peek at them through the window. Are they manufacturing or just
I
repairing?
believe they're in a trial run for an R&D project at the moment, so that you'll see that they're working on the machine, but they're also fully gowned in their clean room garb,
Okay.
so that they're keeping that room sterile. And they're working on it to set the molds to make sure that everything is precise, because we're going to be doing a new product run on a different size. And it's a little bit like an orchestra in the complexity of the machinery, is that it isn't just flip a switch and it runs by itself. It has to be tweaked a bit and tuned, make sure the plastic is properly warm and forming correctly, the lines are running perfectly, and we start out with sterile water. Once we're satisfied everything's working correctly with water, then we move to product.
So there's a lot of inspections going on here at all times, just to
Constant
quality
inspection.
control has got to be.
Constant inspection. As Terry mentioned, we environmental monitor satisfactorily before we begin production. We do it during production. We do it after production. Then the materials are taken and sequestered. They're put into their stability testing and the various temperature controls. We also send samples out to third-party labs to corroborate what we will be finding internally. That takes approximately 21 to 25 days, and nothing will be released unless everything is satisfactory at all points in that 25-day window. Assuming all of that is good to go, only then will quality assurance release a product for the marketplace.
So you're saying that when you make a product today, it can't possibly go to its
No,
final destination
it will
for
not.
another 25 days?
Yes, minimum of 21, 25 days is about average now.
So if they need it yesterday, they're going to still have to
They
wait?
still have to wait because this is people's lives and safety on the line, and we cannot release a product that we have not verified and confirmed stable, safe, and potent as required.
Okay. We're going to continue our tour of Sterics in Plattsburgh. Don't go away.
One of the
Oh, wait a minute here. I got to reintroduce Sean. You got one of those hyphenated names, so I can never remember what.
Sean Baynard Ewan, but now you know why they call me SBG. Anyway,
He's giving us the tour. And what's your title here again, Sean?
I am the manager of logistics, services, and solutions. So I head up the logistics department. I take care of customer service, and I do whatever Gary and Terry asked me to do. That's the solutions.
The solution? I thought maybe
Yeah.
it was cleaning.
No. It's
not those
solve
kind of
this
solutions.
problem for me.
Okay.
That's what I try to do.
All right.
What you're looking at down here is our steam generator, and it's already ready for an upgrade because as we're expanding, we're using it.
All right. Let me turn around here so Judy can see.
Yeah, you do a thing called clean in place and steam in place. So we have to steam all the lines after they've been chemically cleaned, then we neutralize them, and then we steam them to guarantee that they're sterile. So that the machine here and this window allows the people in the room to watch what's happening, to know that their steam unit's functioning properly. And then you can come around this window and look in.
Hang on here. Let's see if I can get through there and still save room for the camera lady. All right, now you can talk.
And this is the actual production center where the drugs are compounded and mixed together in the sterile tanks. And it's got the 2 layers of barrier before you're allowed into it. So you've got positive air pressure, the clean room gowning, all the sterilization of practice and procedure. And then the room is cleaned heavily with sporicides and various chemicals to ensure that it is sterile. Spores being one of your greatest risks in compounding.
All right. What is a kind of a spore would we be looking for?
Mycelial, fungal, something from some sort of mold or mildew could do it. That's what happened with New England Compounding Pharmacy. They got an infection in their materials and didn't eliminate it, and a number of people were injured and died, which is why the feds overhauled the regulations and created the opportunity for us to do this sterile compounding. We have brought to what used to be your pharmacy counter the level of sterility that a Wyeth Pfizer would practice in their pharma production. That's what makes us unique and special.
Right here in Plattsburgh.
Yep,
All
right here in Plattsburgh.
Where are we going next, Sean?
Okay, so next we're going to head on out back to where we were, and we'll figure out the next step. We'll see finished product go out the door maybe. I might have an order on the dock.
All right, I can hardly wait.
Okay.
The little
Okay.
green sign says released.
Yep, so this is product that has been tested
Uh-huh.
and verified capable of being dated out. So we compounded this on the 9th of March. It won't expire until the 4th of December. It's tropicamide. It's an ophthalmic solution.
Better get that out of here pretty soon.
Well, this stuff does have short shelf life. Most of these do. Some of the shelf lives are as few as a month. We try to maximize the dating, but because we're new, we can't extend that dating until the FDA approves it.
Right.
So we can do it progressively. So something that was only good for 80 days, actually it's good for 120. Oh, it's still good at 160. Oh, it's still good at 180.
So you keep testing it.
And you keep testing it and you validate it for that purpose. But so this is a light protectant package. In it are the vials that we talked about, so that when they open this up, this has been sterilized inside. The item in it is sterile and sterilized, and so it'll be exposed to the light of day the first time when it gets used.
I've learned over the years that use by date on the milk carton is usually pretty accurate.
We operate under that. If it hits expiry, it gets sequestered and quarantined unless we have test results that allow QA to validate it for being re-released. But it will go through a closure, sequestering, quarantining, and then if it's acceptable, it's re-released, but not until.
Okay, do you recall how long ago, we're here on October 3rd, that you shipped your first product out?
It was actually, I'd have to look. I think it was about 3 months ago.
About 3 months ago.
Yeah, it was about 3 months ago.
You know, so wouldn't it have been exciting
June.
to jump in a time machine, go back to 1934 or 33, whatever it was, or 28, I can't remember exactly what date it was. I was going to look that up before I came, and I didn't, but that Wyeth shipped that first, Aris McKenna and Harrison shipped that first product out of Rouse's Point. That would have been exciting to jump in a time machine and be there 3 months later still, and that's what we are here, 3 months after this.
Yep,
shipment.
the whole advance in blow-fill seal over the glass bottle is in itself a major advancement. Our ability to create a liter bag or liter bottle, for example, is a huge improvement, because in the standard IV bag you see in the movies or on TV in the surgical theater, that may have as many as 18 separate manufacturing steps involved to make that bag. Put stuff in it, seal it up, sterilize it, etc. Whereas we're able to do that in a single automated process without having human hands touching it. And that allows us to get to that sterile blow-fill seal more effectively, more cost-effectively, more user-friendly, and a recyclable single unit at the end.
Certainly a lot more efficient.
Yes, you can do a thing called shred and rinse with the containers at the end. You neutralize the materials brought out of it, and then the plastic can be recycled into lumber, something else, if the users have a system set up to do that. We recycle all our scrap plastic here. We try very hard to be green, minimize our carbon footprint, and maximize the use of our materials. So that's an ophthalmic product. Let me show you an example of the shortage market product.
Okay.
That would be this, for example. It's still in quarantine, not yet released, but this is a box of sodium bicarbonate, which is used on crash carts in hospitals everywhere. When blood acidosis occurs, they use this to help bring the blood acid level back to neutral. And it's something that was in very short supply for a few months, and we were able to capitalize on that and get this out to the market. We're still selling it out. That window will probably close in the next month or two for this particular version.
That's what I was thinking, is that you've got to be ready to go the day before yesterday when these things become known that, hey, we're short of such and such. So you got to get your compounds or whatever you need to make the product in here in a hurry.
You just homed in on it. You have to be agile and quick to be able to get to the shortage market, but the FDA doesn't care about that part of it per se. They expect you to go through every step of every quality control nonetheless, and we want to do that.
You can't cut corners just because...
No, that's what gets people in trouble, and we can't cut the corners, and we don't. So what we try to do here is recognize the opportunity, be skilled in the core production, so that we can get this done effectively and quickly and capitalize on the prior experience. So that if I'm producing a 50 milliliter bottle or a 100 milliliter bottle, I know how to do that. And I can do it quickly, and I can get the substances into it that'll meet all the requirements and standards, and we can guarantee it's sterile when it hits the street.
All right. So like I said, you got to be on your toes and anticipate, and it's like somebody
here, if you
doing
want
the stock market.
Pause for a second, I will go grab a container and show you what one looks like.
Well, I think we'll pause for a second.
So this is a non-sterile example of what we first put out on the market with the sodium bicarbonate, and the label, and you would draw your injection using a non-coring needle and technique to pull the material, and eventually we will be able to package this in a hypodermic so that you don't have to do a withdrawal. It'll be directly in a single unit dose hypodermic and be able to deliver that directly to the practitioner. Yep. We did this because it's shortage market. we had to get this substance into the public's hands as soon as possible, because there was insufficient quantity of sodium bicarb out there. So by our doing this to start, it got it to them, and we sold a large amount of this very quickly to a number of hospitals, and they've been very happy with it. The feedback has been great. It was a little unknown because the blow-fill seal's new in the U.S., but once they started working with it, it was like, we love it. This is great. It's convenient. It's easy.
Now, that shortage market, I would think that's something you're going to continue with, right?
That's going to be one of our primary focuses,
Okay.
is that meeting the demand there is both life-saving and cost-effective, because you can enter into it without having to go through all that qualification process the regular pharma people do. They pay for years worth of development. The challenge is you have to get out once the need is met. You don't get to stay in it.
But you keep all that information. So,
Yep.
So if you suddenly need to make shirts, well, this time you had to learn how to make shirts, but next time there's a shortage of shirts.
You got it.
You already know how to make shirts. And
Yep.
you know where to find your buttons and all these other
Right,
things.
and being able to make ringers isn't that far from sodium bicarb, being able to make dextrose, putting these solutions together. Once you've mastered the technique, we can do it.
And you keep that information.
Yep.
And it's here for future use, which you hope will happen. You hope
Exactly.
that those things pop
Exactly.
up again that are shortage.
So yeah, so now we're working on a liter bottle version of this.
So how far away is the shortage? U.S. only, or how would that?
Generally, we're only licensed to sell in certain states in the U.S. We have most of the U.S. under license at the moment. We're still working on a couple others. Some of them require a longer track record before they'll license you. So this time next year, we expect to have been licensed in every state in the union. A couple of them like a year's experience before they'll grant you a license. So, like I said, this time next year, we will have been able to provide that to all of the auditing and certifying boards. And currently, I believe we're licensed in 44 states, and we're in application in the remaining 8.
All right. This guy down. All right, first thing, Sean, for all those people who didn't fail math and said 8 and 44 is not
Oh,
equal
it's not
50.
52? No, when I said 52, we have territories that we have to get licensed
So
for, Puerto
50
Rico and the
states and-
Pacific Islands. So that's how I came up with 52, from 44 and 8.
Yeah, we wanted to correct that there. So
Yeah, so, but no, we have to be licensed in each state and or territory that we're going to be distributing in.
Right.
So we're
what
pursuing
I
that
thought,
for the
but-
remaining ones. But no,
I
good
wanted-
clarification.
I wanted to ask you off camera, so
Yeah, thank you.
we wouldn't be questioning your math.
Okay, so those of us that didn't pay attention in math but did pay attention in biology
They're in here.
might find themselves working in a biological lab like this. This is where we do a lot of our testing, environmental monitoring, and the like, that help guarantee that our products are sterile, that the facility is clean enough to make sterile product in, and that we're observing all the requirements of product stability and quality control. And we use both third-party external lab testing and our own internal to corroborate it, so that we don't have just one voice saying, yep, you're good to go. We test it multiple ways, multiple times. And we do that constantly.
So that's being done in here.
Yes, that's the biological end of it's done in here.
Okay.
The next lab we're going to go into in a moment is the chem lab, and that's where they do a lot of the formulation and calculations to determine what is going to be made, how it's going to be made, how do we keep it stable, and how the substances are interacting together.
Okay.
Okay, and this is our chemistry lab, and in here, this is where we work out the chemical combinations with the chemists and guaranteeing that formulations are going to be properly specified, have been validated, checked and confirmed against standards, and the various procedures are outlined chemically, so that between the biolabs and the chem labs, that allows us to go into that production area we've already looked at, fabricate materials, bring them out, and guarantee that they're going to be sterile, properly balanced, stable, and will meet the need in the medical community.
Okay. So the chemistry is making sure the product is as it should be, and the biological part is just to make sure it's clean.
Clean, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Clean going in, clean going out.
Okay. So
Okay.
are we at the end of the building? Is
Well, this is pretty much it. Yeah, the other end through that door is another loading dock like the one we were on, but it's where we do the refurbishing and the stripping of the machines. So it's generally pretty dirty.
Okay.
Not something that we'll photograph because it's just not pleasant.
So is there any actual manufacturing going on today?
Not at the moment.
Not
We're
yet?
currently in a down period in between runs. We're selling what we've currently produced while we're formulating the next runs and getting the next product line lined up.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
My pleasure.
We are back outside at, is it 141 Idaho? Is it Idaho
Yep.
Drive or what is it?
141 Idaho Avenue.
Idaho Avenue. Excuse me, Idaho. I didn't mean to downgrade you to a drive. Idaho Avenue, which is off Connecticut and just, I'd say on the southeastern part of the base, or southwestern. What would you call it?
Southwest.
Southwest.
Yep.
Okay. But we are here outside at SterRX. It's been an interesting tour, and I think, as the old show people used to say, you ain't seen nothing yet, right, Sean?
Oh, we're really excited about this. This has been a great opportunity. As I said, I came on board, I think I was number 30, and we're up to 108, and it's been less than 2 years. And they expect to double that still. This is just a terrific opportunity for the region, for the people who work here, for the investors and founders. We're really excited to be delivering this because, again, you don't get to do a lot of work where you save lives. You really don't. And working with medicine and medical practitioners at the level of quality we're working to achieve and deliver on is something that makes you feel good about when you go home at night.
Yeah, and if you're producing product that's in a shortage, that's vital that it gets produced, and all this sterile injection stuff. What do you call that?
The sodium bicarbonate or whatever.
No,
the blow fill seal bottle. Yeah, and the BFS blow fill seal. Yeah, and the methodology and technique is wonderful. When I explain it to most people who've never heard of it, I say, "Do you know that lousy sugary sweet stuff you got in the wax bottles for Halloween?" They go, "Yeah, I remember that." And it's like, well, it's like that but better. We make a sterile bottle and put stuff in it and get it out to the people who need it.
And it's being done right here in Plattsburgh, and it's growing, and it's providing jobs, good quality jobs, and more of them to come, and I think that's exciting.
Yep.
So I thank you, Terry and Sarah, for allowing us to be here today. It's a place we've wanted to go for quite a while, and we're glad that things are progressing rapidly at this point.
Well, thank you for coming, Calvin and Judy. It's a real pleasure to have chatted with you both, and always a pleasure to catch up with you.
All right. So we're signing off. This is Hometown Cable, and we've been at Sterics in Plattsburgh. You're watching viewer-supported local television. TV we think is worthy of your support, and we thank you for watching, and thanks, Judy, for running that camera today.